السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the Masjid Carpark podcast, episode 66. Before we begin, I would like to say I condemn terrorism in all its forms. I condemn the killing of innocent civilians.
What are you talking about?
Do you know this is how every single interview has to start?
Yeah.
This is what I'm trying to say.
Sorry.
Every Muslim
You made me
interview-
angry. Triggered me about that.
I'm good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Because every single Muslim interview, every Muslim that has been in social, in
Not even Muslim.
news,
Jeremy Corbyn, the Labour
anyone
head,
that's not on the
he
side
goes,
of
"Do you
Israel,
and they're chasing him.
do you condemn?
Yeah. And we're seeing.
I wanted to see how you
it's
react.
a weird.
I wanted to see how you react, and that was a pure emotional reaction. Whereas some of these guys on the news channels, they expect it,
Yeah.
and when they expect it, they know how to deal with it.
Yeah. And it's the and it started off with the Palestinian Authority guy in England with the I think it was
Every single person that's been on social media,
and then everyone after them.
every single person.
It starts off with this nonsense. What is Israel, and what will make you know what is Israel?
There's enough on social media.
No. I'm saying, what is this colonial settler state that still exists? It's like apartheid state that exists from
1948.
1948. No, but it's like the last bastion of, like we're learning in Niger. Colonialism and its tentacles are still embedded in the Muslim lands, obviously, and the rulers they're dictating. You saw the French behaving in Niger. These are the last vestiges of colonialism. Israel is a colonial settler state that exists in the 21st century, and the demographics doesn't even make sense. The Holocaust is used, and many Jews have Jewish people have outright condemned, the existence of this state from like Orthodox from a theological perspective, and also even liberal Jews, because they cannot, even in Australia, there's like academics, Jewish people, who are shocked that it's a race, it is apartheid state.
It's apartheid.
And we'll get to the moment what's actually happening at the moment there, and it's brutal, and it's absolutely like, someone called me from our masjid, and just asked me what's the general, as an imam, checking what's the vibe, because we always worry about mental health of our community when COVID and so forth, so we're a bit more conscious, sensitive to it these days. And I said this: if one emotion can summarize, it's anger. Muslims are angry, non-Muslims are angry.
And frustration.
The initial 48 hours had passed, and we started the duplicity of media, the lies. It was so, because social media 20 years ago or 15 years ago was not so developed maybe as it is now.
Yeah.
And people
weren't as savvy.
Yeah. And
people didn't understand that generation has grown up with social media, and they understand how social media works.
And seeing the lies, and the people breaking through this, and the people, the spokesmen, people that are coming from various organizations.
Allah has sent some amazing people, mashallah.
And they are, that they're going at them and their lies. And I think one of the best people, Sami Hamid, I think that's his name, if I remember correctly. If you go to Thinking Muslim podcast, he did an interview there, and he did he's like everywhere at the moment, especially in the Palestinian issue.
Sami Hamid?
I think Sami Hamid, if I just top of my head. But you go to Thinking Muslim, it's that brother and other brothers, and Muhammad Hijab, and yesterday, what's his name? Basim Yusuf, the comedian, satirist.
Wow.
That was this morning, came out, and that was absolutely articulating that for these stupid media thing, especially in Australia, and there's a journalist called the West Report, I think. They released a video today, 10 minutes. It's an Australian journalist talking about the
Murdoch media,
the Murdoch media machine and what it's doing, and have a listen to that. And it's a total secular, non-Muslim, just looking at it from the journalistic aspect of the thing and what they're doing. And what Israel doesn't want, They don't want to talk about the 75 years, the root cause. And amazingly, Russia and China, there's so many threads to this and so much information from the political side of things. But what they don't want to, they keep talking about the last weekend.
That's correct.
Which was a retaliation that was built up over a long time. And this is what, if you keep pushing a person, eventually something's going to happen. Like the idea you can...
But the idea that these guys were able to cross a fence, get over everything, and apparently this fence, if a dog runs, you have troops of soldiers come out.
Yeah.
So were they allowed to do this?
No. I think that conspiracy is always, there's conspiracy theories come out and what some of the information that's leaking out, they basically jammed, they got automatic, like, I don't think it's AI, but I think it's automated, like gunners that are sitting there. So pretty much, you can't, it's like almost like being mined. They jammed those and, they went for it. Why they're behaving the way they are, and Sami Hamid, he explains this, that why they're behaving, since 1948, this is the first time someone actually has crossed the border and held territory, and that is was not part of the calculation because they've been saying otherwise, and they coordinated months, and it was an intelligence failure for Mossad and Shin Bet, the domestic intelligence agency, and all that. It was a total failure and a military failure as well. And the propaganda that started, and we know, and everyone, and propaganda is getting exposed because it's like live, right? It's not like a TV program in the 80s or 90s.
Yeah,
and
afterwards it's been
years and
edited,
years.
this
is not Iraq War 90, beginning of the 90s, first Iraq
2001.
War. What's her name? Naira, the girl they brought with the babies in incubators. That was the trigger that they used. Like that was it turned out to be the ambassador's daughter, and she was coached by a PR team, and she basically talked about the Iraqi soldiers pulling babies out of incubators. No such thing happened, but that was given in front of Congress or whatever. This, what do you call it? Like testimony was given of what happened, and it was not true.
It's absolutely mind blowing. All of these things, all of these narratives that are pushed. But what got me and what has got me lost for words are Aussie politicians.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not talking about the Liberals. You can't expect anything better from them.
Yeah, even the Labor guy. Look,
and the guy that was pushing, that went to masjids, that was pushing for protection of minorities, like the yes vote.
Yeah.
Right? The same man is...
Oh, it was like a switch. Yeah. It was very below the surface. It was just right at the surface. Like I'm saying, just right at the surface. It was like shocking a little bit how quickly
I was shocked.
They went to, because that's a default mode.
I am still shocked.
That's what the journalist talks about. He talks about today. The
worst one is Penny Wong.
Yeah.
I did not expect her.
No, he talks, that journalist in the West Report, he talks about that. He said, why are they like that? He says the Israel lobby is so strong that they're more stronger than the business lobby in terms of making them toe the line. And also there's the media. People are scared of the Israel lobby. They're scared of business interests because after politics, they go into
Murdoch media.
They become directors. But and they're scared of the media. They're scared of the media. They're scared of the Israel lobby. They're scared of business lobbies or interest groups. Yeah. So the Israel lobby actually has power to influence this because
they've just got some crazy dirt on these people.
I mean, when you say they, like, what is it? Like, are they just very well politically organized? Like APAC.
Is it that if you come out, we're going to bring this out?
Well, no, I don't know about that, but like APAC, like in the US, and the equivalents of that all over the world, they act like this. And why is it that the politicians go there and sing to a Zionist tune in front of this thing and, basically with Israel till death do us part? I think the average Australian doesn't care about Israel.
The average person in the world doesn't. And the people in now...
So why is it these politicians care so much?
Now the world is saying, not in my name.
Yeah.
All over the world, these politicians do not represent me.
Yeah. So this is the ugly truth of like living in a quote unquote Western society, that our leaders...
You're not as free as you thought, and your leaders don't represent you as much as you thought.
They represent special interests,
yes, and
lobbies and so forth, and more than represent you, even though you voted for them.
They don't represent us.
I mean, even though they're supposed to represent you, the people, right? The And you can see like how the statements that they have to give, and many of them are lies, and they regurgitate, but they don't apologize for it.
Yeah, that's right. They don't retract any of the lies.
And get people worked up. And have a listen to, what's his name?
Norman Finkelstein.
Yeah, Finkelstein. Like, have a listen to him, what he's saying, and others. There's so many podcasts and so many programs, and it's just becoming clear as daylight, right? And this is part of our Islamic history. When Umar radiallahu anhu conquered Masjid Al-Aqsa, the Christians did not allow the Jews to come and pray. One day a year they were allowed to pray.
Is that right?
Yeah. So, and Umar radiallahu anhu said, no, you're people of the book, and the Jews, the Jewish people, they're also people of the book. They have equal right to you. So they were allowed. So as far as we're concerned, a Jew can come into that country and worship and go to their sites and so forth. What we
Christian
have,
can do the same.
The country is a European colonial project created by the British and now adopted by the Americans, and the lackeys in Europe just follow. They just follow them. It's there. It's supported. It's when this started. What does America do? Immediately sends ships. 2 ships have been sent.
What happens is every aircraft carrier has ships around it. One to protect the aircraft carrier and another one to help with whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I think it's a total of 5 ships.
So they've sent like a whole fleet.
The biggest aircraft carrier plus 4 support. But these support ships are warships.
Who's that for? It's not for the Gazans. It's to tell everybody else to toe the line.
Yeah,
Lebanon, Jordan. I mean, they're not going to do anything. Egypt, Syria. You guys better not interfere in this. However bad the Israelis behave, and even America's like, oh, that's a bit much. Like the little statements are coming out now. Like,
Too late.
Yeah, but they say they're gonna think. We all know this, and everyone's angry about this. But I think how do we and the level of awareness that's come about this issue, I don't think in our lifetime we've seen almost on international level, at every level, the whole ummah is like focused on this singular place, which is a tiny little place, Gaza.
50 by what, 5?
Yeah, it's a tiny little place. As an Australian, that is a very small place.
Yeah.
I mean, I drive literally every day. Like I could do a lap of that. Like that's
easy.
Like it's such a small place with 2 million people in it, cramped in it. And so
1.2 million are kids.
So
well,
I wouldn't advise to look at it. To be aware of it is important. That a lot of Muslims are being killed, and a lot of children are being killed, and murdered, slaughtered, bombed, and so forth. Killed. And we can't like it's too much. I think the frustration, especially in the border countries, the Muslims in it. The people who care about other Muslims and feel the pain of other Muslims.
Yeah, not the leaders. It's the
people that trying. You can see like that lady in Jordan. She's screaming at the top of the lungs at the soldiers, "Go do something." What are you going to say before Allah Subhanahu wa Taala? Like there is an anger, an awareness, and a pain that is felt at the moment that there are brothers and sisters, Palestinians in Gaza, especially the Gazans, that.
We're not talking about Hamas.
Like
we're talking about the average Gazan.
And the du'as that are being raised, and the du'a Qunoot that have been raised.
Allah.
There are people that say, well, you know, like you people that just pray du'a Qunoot and you're going to fast and so forth. I think there is a truth to that if it is used as a cop-out, right, to do anything. There's a differentiation here. If we have to do du'a Qunoot because only Allah will help us. Only Allah will save us.
Can you explain this, du'a Qunoot?
Du'a Qunoot there's difference among the Imams. Du'a Qunoot Nazila is a dua that is made against the enemies of Islam and Muslims. Right?
Okay.
It usually in great calamity, but specific like curses are made on and asking Allah to destroy the enemy.
And when do you read this dua?
This is in the last rakat of Salat, in Fajr or in other Salats.
Okay.
And before the Ruku and the last rakat. And hands are raised and dua is made loudly and everyone says Ameen to it. It's something Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did on people who harm the Muslims, enemies of Islam. So that's been carried out. Like, you know, those sort of people are fasting for the people of Gaza and this tragedy that is unfolding before us. People are doing du'as and so forth. As long as we don't, because it's not, you can't just make du'a, and du'a is the weapon of a believer. Prayer is the weapon of a believer, but like you got to think about your own life, the bigger picture of your own life as a Muslim, as a follower of Rasulullah, as being from the same ummah as the Gazans and Palestinians and Arabs and the rest of the ummah, the Rohingyas and the Chinese Muslims and Afghanis and so forth, Kashmiris. The list of Zulum hotspots are great, but this is next level of like a butchering. What's happening at the moment is butchering. It's really, the pictures are coming out in loud and clear that these Zalimin, they have a, and that's what the Bassem Youssef, like the satirist, like what he said. So can you tell us in advance?
How many need to die, basically?
So for your bloodlust can be quenched. This is like how much you need to die, because there is a, like a 10-to-1 ratio usually.
27-to-1.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So it is painful to watch, and I wouldn't advise people to go into this Telegram. There are Telegram groups, and you have to sort of I keep up to date with all the statements and so forth. But you got to quickly pass, because we know people are getting killed and butchered and so forth. So we like to keep.
See, I can't look at it.
If you keep looking at it, babies and kids and so forth in really bad conditions, it is. So although you might not think that you might have a strong stomach and a strong mind and so forth, it does chip away at you. And I'm not like having a sook as a Western Muslim who they're going through suffering, and I can't just look at pictures. But I'm saying that because you're incapacitated by being here, then
there's nothing you can do.
Yeah. So
what can you do? You can't do CPR. You can't.
And the Palestinians themselves have said that the protests we appreciate. The protests are appreciated. The social media.
They know they're not alone.
Yeah. Then and the social media posts, and this is very important. Like they're losing the narrative. They're losing the Israelis are, because Muslims all over the world are retweeting and it's about it eventually filtering up into the people who make the decision to keep Israel on the lifeline that it is, because demographically the Palestinians are more in Palestine / Israel. They're actually more, if you take it on the West Bank, Gaza and the Arab Israelis inside, they're actually more than the Israelis, the Jews, the Jewish people. So there's a demographic, and then there's also 7 million diaspora Palestinians, which are all over the world, who are from the region, from that country.
Yeah.
So they double the amount actually in total, because there's like 3 million in Jordan and 1 million in Lebanon and 600,000 in this country and 300,000 work in Saudi, live in Saudi, on and on and on. So they're all scattered in the region. And that's one of the things the Israelis will not allow, is the right of return to their lands, because they've usurped all their lands, right? So there's a lot of focus is being brought to this, and I don't think it will die out that easily. And the Israelis, basically the Israelis, what's actually happened with the Israelis, specifically the state, they copped it like last weekend. You can argue about the right or wrong, but what happened, as the reality is, they were humiliated, and they're trying to wash the humiliation from themselves. This is actually, many analysts have said this, that they were trying to wash and reassert, because the whole it's a ruthless neighborhood, right? The Middle East is it's you got generals in charge, and you got, like, they're looking at the weak guy, right? As soon as you show any weakness, it's not just like the UFC or like a ring or something, but okay, they're not invincible. They're Iron Dome, I think they're not invincible. So now that's why America had to reassert their full support. They're so busy in Ukraine, and they can't win there, basically. I mean, they're making some progress, but they can't actually win there. They thought it was going to be a quick thing, but it's actually taking much longer. The Russians are much more resilient than they thought. They're going to economically collapse them, all that sort of stuff. Now, like, this has opened up. If there's one more front opens up somewhere, honestly, like, the lifeline will disappear from them. So
I doubt it.
It's they're basically kept alive. They're not kept alive on from their own strength. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put la'na, like there's a la'na there, there's a curse. And this will not, by their own 2 feet, they will never be able to stand up. And so it is like the start of it's probably the start of the end, But of course, someone with that much power, so many weapons, nuclear weapons, like a drowning man, clutches everything, and it's going to sink the whole region maybe into a mess.
See, I feel like we used to have protests a couple of years ago, Free Palestine, everyone went out, everything, then it died down. Then it started again, then it died down. For me, you call me a cynic, whatever. But for me, I just feel like we can protest and we can do all of these things. But I suppose I'm still lost for words. That's why I'm sitting here, and I know I'm not the only one. I'm completely lost for words. I am shocked at our politicians. I'm not talking about, as I said, the liberals or the far right. That's expected.
Oh yeah, like
that is expected.
John Howard, like Allah's curse be upon that man, because he comes out even after Albanese gave, one-sided statement and very pro-Israel, and for whatever reason, like he went full without any evidence.
This is the guy that started the war, mate, in Iraq. So what do you expect from him?
But the thing is that to say he goes, he wasn't harsh enough, right?
Yeah,
like we're a separate country, right? We're in Australia. Why are the Australians or the British so interested in this little spot? Is it because it's your former colony, right? Is it because there are Zionist Christians, right? There are hardcore Zionist Christian, and Noam Chomsky talks about this, that they are more fervent, like they have more fervor in their Zionism than even the Jewish Zionists, right?
Yep.
Because they
want to bring on the Messiah.
They want to bring the Messiah. For them, the people of Jesus have to be in the Holy Land. That's like going to the 19th century. They predate the Jewish Zionists. And so, for those who don't know, Zionists, basically this sort of
movement
of establishing a land by whatever means possible in the Holy Land.
Messiah.
Holy Land. But they're basically Europeans. It's a European project still, right?
Yeah, because the original
the Holocaust is used, and many Jewish intellectuals and so forth who are survivors of the Holocaust.
Say stop using it.
Whose parents are survivors of the Holocaust. Said stop using their sacrifices and their debts to
do the same thing.
Keep this apartheid state going. So, and I have a question, like for Australia, will the 100 or I don't know how many there are, at least 100 or whatever Australian soldiers, IDF soldiers who are Australian citizens, who have a dual citizenship for Israel, will they be charged on war crimes when they come back to Australia? Because when somebody else goes overseas, like, I don't know, you have some connection to the military, like an Australian goes and fights part of the French Foreign Legion.
No, it depends. There are some countries, I don't have any connection to the military, but there are some countries that, for example, Turkish. So Turkey, if you're of Turkish descent, if you're a dual national, you have to do Turkish
military
service, 24
okay.
months or whatever, and then there's different ways you can get out of it. So that's allowed.
But if you commit a war crime,
that's the question. That's the $1 million question.
So if there's an MP and he committed war crimes, or even an IDF soldier,
nothing's going to happen.
And he's an Australian and he goes overseas and he serves in the army, and he was part of a battalion that committed war crimes, will that be investigated by Australians?
I don't think so.
And why would you allow an Australian to go? Shouldn't he be prosecuted when he comes back?
Yeah, but America, Israel, and a couple other.
The Five Eyes, basically.
But they're not part of the International Court of Justice. Do you know that? Criminal Court.
Okay, so they're allowed to do.
Soldiers cannot be brought before the International Criminal Court.
Okay, so they have a.
But they'll drag other soldiers in front of the courts.
Yeah, African despots or whatever, and they'll bring them.
Look at Putin.
Yeah. Okay, but not their own. So anyway, I mean, these are I think the munafaqat, the hypocrisy, the lies are laid bare, and it's a travesty, like just watching it. And I think people are realizing the game, and that's why maybe the anger is so much, because we can see the duplicity and the munafaqat, the hypocrisy in the journalists and in the
so
media.
Open, like it's crazy, and I think to myself, are you that ignorant?
No, they have a job. Firstly, either they're ideological, they hate
Palestine.
Well, they hate Arabs or Muslims, or they're just like Pauline Hanson, like
on steroids. She's been quiet. I haven't had anything from her.
Yeah, good on you, Pauline.
Sister Pauline.
So that's one thing. They could be themselves, or because they're doing their job, right? They fear for the job, or there's a lobby that's controlling them, right? Or they're answerable to something. "Quote unquote" high powers.
But the average person is seen.
Yeah.
My dua is that this translates into action at the next elections or at the next whatever. Like the average person is realizing, wait, we're not as free as we thought. Yeah, and these people do not.
And the only people that really come out generally in the West, who are the only people that come out at the top in the European Parliament or in their parliament who come out like regarding who are the people? Irish.
Oh.
And the reason is that because the Irish know the
They were
English.
colonized, and the same people that made Israel are the same people, literally, the generals, the soldiers, the governors, that were ruling Ireland. And that divided Ireland at that time.
So they know the DNA of this.
These same people were transported over there, do the same thing over here.
Yeah. We're not going to make this podcast long.
What do we do?
So I'll read something
what do
to you.
we
There's
do?
many things being said. Many things, of course, there's sadness in terms of the pain that our brothers and sisters are suffering from. There's anger.
I don't even know what to say, bro.
There's an anger in the Muslims at the moment, rightly so. There's the du'as, fasting, and all the amal that is being done, specifically for this. So there's all these things that we know happening parallel. There's the people that are retweeting and they're using their social media, and people that are losing accounts, and people that are major accounts, 10 million subscribers.
So we retweet, spread.
Yeah,
social
use all
media.
the social media you can.
Just don't spread the killing and those type of things.
Yeah, without warnings. Especially there should be warnings at the front. Because
I've had some videos that I'm just like, I wish I'd never was sent to.
Yeah, I told. Sometimes you have to. You like on one side, as I mentioned earlier, you don't want to be sooking about.
It's not about sooking.
I know, but
somebody once told me.
it's
Somebody told me once that works in the police force, and they come to a lot of accident sites and everything, all these things.
Yeah. And
she said to her husband, who joined afterwards, "Don't look. If you don't have to look, don't look." Like, because apparently there's some coppers that get off on this stuff, like the gore and the accident and all that. So she goes, because you only have one bucket, and there's only so much you can fill up in it.
Yeah, shock advertisement. Shock.
It's like tragedy porn.
Yeah. There's a voyeuristic element to watching these things and just constantly watching
we
it.
We know what's happening. I think about the pain that the people that are physically there, seeing it in front of their eyes, what they're going through.
It's too much.
And at the same time, rather than showing this stuff, channel the energy to asking from Allah.
It's not running away from the problem. So one is on the social media and constantly updating and constantly being
forward stuff, tweet stuff. That's what you're saying.
Like you got to
algorithm purposes.
Make sure that the voice it reaches up and filters through, because once the average person, it just took one picture in Vietnam, that girl from the napalm. It took that, how particularly like in Iraq, if I remember this in the early 90s, there was a picture of post-Iraq war.
And that's why they're not showing white phosphorus.
The first picture that was an Iraqi soldier who was burnt alive, and he was stuck like charred black body, but he's like, you can see he's screaming. That picture they made sure that picture doesn't arrive in the Western media, because it took like 6 months, a year or something. They dehumanized the Iraqis first. Then they actually before the war. Wow. So the sympathy of the people that vote in the, they made sure that it took years or whatever time afterwards it arrives, so that people don't build sympathy for them. Here,
human animals.
Yeah, that's where they thought they were, but within a very short amount of time,
Allah changed
the operation. What Hamas did in itself contradicted their statements. Like they were so taken aback. And Sami Hamid, what he said about the media actually doesn't know, and all these Palestinian spokespeople that are coming out, they are like very articulate. They're not playing the game, and everybody is coming afterwards. MashaAllah, like they're very impressive. And the Israel, like the Ben Shapiros and these khabisas like Ben Shapiro and others, who they're getting exposed for their like vile the sickness. Like it's a veil being put up that they showed that's been removed from, and to see how disgusting their hearts are, what type of human beings they actually are. So anyway, what do we do? Like why do we, and as Muslims, I'll just read. There's many things people have said other than protest and social media. Dua Qunoot, which is specifically for the situation like this, reading Quran, du'as, all the amal that we need to do. They are effective. We're making a case in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will deal with the enemies. Allah has dealt with his enemies and the enemy of Muslim. But our condition is very important, that our dini condition is very important. That we, and I'll read this tweet to you, Sheikh Dr. Mutlaq Jasir, teacher in Kuwait. And he says something, and I'll read the translation of it. Because we are saddened by what happened to our brothers. We are most saddened by the weak position of our nation, our ummah, which did not go beyond words and condemnation. Right? This sadness that rages in the heart of a Muslim must be his fuel for fruitful work that contributes to the translation. This is the Google translation. Renaissance, the Nahda, the Renaissance, a revival of the ummah. If this sadness and heartbreak do not push you to make a decision to be closer to your Lord and to resolve to support one of the frontiers of this religion. So, like in Arabic, thughur, generally what it refers to is the Islamic frontiers, the lands. So when there's a gap in it, so somebody goes to do ribat, protect the Islamic frontiers, they fill that gap there in that specific spot. So the enemies of Islam don't enter through
gaps
that.
in din.
So it's talking about generally it's understood as physical gaps to fill in the borders. So people go there, they used to cycle through. It was like basically a normal thing that Muslims did, that the frontiers are protected. He said, but look at what he says, and to resolve. So if this sadness and heartbreak do not push you to make a decision to be closer to your Lord and to resolve to support one of the frontiers of this deen. Like there are people that debate against Christians. That people do charity work. People do dawah to Muslims. People do dawah to Christians. People do dawah, they do street dawah. The people that are protecting physically actually combating in the areas, the enemies of Islam. There are people that are, like whatever it needs to strengthen the deen of Islam, right? Not to tear it down, right? So whatever work is done should be calculated that how this will actually build up and be effective and a positive contribution in the sense that it will build the ummah up. Then there is, so I'll read that again. If this sadness and heartbreak do not push you to make a decision to be closer to your Lord and to resolve to support one of the frontiers of this religion to support it, then there is no good in this sadness of yours. There is no good in you. Like this sadness is not, you can't just sit there and mope and be sad and just, and just give up. No,
just social media.
It should drive you to fix yourself up and also contribute to whatever deen requires, So, and there are millions of brothers and sisters that are involved in works that are building up the ummah. And now, and we have that in our ummah. We have those intellectual resources. We have the human resources, and we have these things that that we make Muslims, whatever they used to turn into gold because of their deen, because they were doing it for Allah, they're doing it for akhirah. So, and if you want to know, people, I'm shocked at the people of Gaza. We know that they go through every few years. There's this problem that happens, but I'm shocked at the statements of
resilience, and they're just men and women. They're just
the women, the old ladies.
God.
There was one lady, one of them was saying that he just before half an hour before he watched his video, just half an hour before got killed. He's saying, goes, our bones will build up to these international shackles that have been put on the ummah that has chained up for so long. It's not about breaking just for Gaza or Palestinians or Arabs. Because this international system that has been actually put over us and holds us that we can't do nothing. Think about it. And there was a tweet someone said, when I was young, I thought everybody was free except for the Gaza. And then now that I'm old, I realize the people of Gaza are free. We're all slaves. That the fact that all the Arab countries can't do nothing. They're just standing quietly. While the people who speak the same language and the same skin color and same
that gets
the people immediately there, they can't do anything.
Don't you have any shame? Don't you have any?
Yeah, that's their problem. So it is very painful. But then these ladies, I mean, you can see the tears and the pain and
kids, young men,
and what they're going through, and they're saying goodbye to their friends, like little kid, 10-year-olds saying goodbye to their friends,
mothers saying goodbye to their babies,
their best friends, their children was interrupted, their childhood was interrupted, and ladies, one of the lady, she said, put your chin up, put your chin up, your head up, and because one guy came out of a building they just bombed. He looks like an average, guy that you would probably see in Melbourne, in the northern suburbs, some uncle,
Yeah.
And he comes out and 20 family members died, all his kids got killed. And he said, do you think that you'll subjugate us? We will fight until we take Aqsa back. We will fight until, forget about Gaza, because we will fight you until, because we will not go down. We will not go, in the night disappear and so forth. Like the idea, I mean, they've been doing this for
Meanwhile,
75
our kids
years.
here are worried about their hairstyles and this and that. And
Yeah. So these are like, they're a different breed of people, and they've grown up in refugee camps. Because Gaza, parts of Gaza actually is refugee camps.
Well, they've grown up with constant violence.
Yeah. And then you wonder, like, why a reaction would occur the way it does occur. Like it didn't come. These things don't come out of thin air. And like you've, like in Iraq,
and that's
like
what they're trying to do.
Like not to justify the things that people did, but like there's a reason why in Iraq and Syria, like you killed 1 million people. You expect those people to be normal and just let you, throw peace signs and whatever. Like this is not like this 1 million people got killed in Iraq, if not more. In Afghanistan, what do you expect? They to welcome with roses? Like do you understand what you've done to these people? Like you traumatized their generations. Like, so Allah help them, Allah protect them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we make dua constantly. But I think as a Muslim, this anger is, we're not scared, alhamdulillah. This media vilification of Muslims, trying to put us corner to condemn. I mean, our brothers and sisters that are in the media.
That's September 11 time.
Yeah, that's gone. Like we're sick of apologizing. You explain to us why there's Australians serving there committing war crimes. You explain that to us. We'll worry about us. Don't come and tell us in our mosques. They already started doing this. Be good boys.
Because there's some serious crap going to happen.
Yeah, like no, like we are going to raise our voice the least. Muslims are doing that. Muslims are rightfully angry. Muslims should expect, and non-Muslims as well in these countries in Australia, they should raise their voices. In Australia, I feel like such a large Irish community. Australian Irish, you should know. You have a version of that is very close to what the British did to the Muslims throughout the Muslim lands. Like you know what it's about. You've inherited that history in your families and so forth. That you know what they've done, and you know what they're like, and how ruthless they are, and how conniving they are. So Australian Irish, they should be like the first ones to, and they are, and the people know. I know because I know Irish people, Australian Irish, and what they say. They are not big fans of and this is an English project that has gone out of control and adopted by the Americans now, and they have to keep it going. Right? But like in Afghanistan, most likely what's going to happen at some point, there's going to be and this is the first. It's just a start now. They think they can wash it off and so forth, disappear. Inshallah. Allah protect our brothers and sisters. We make dua for them. But I think use all the and Mufti Taqi Usmani and senior ulama this ummah has mentioned what to do. But
what did they say?
In terms of like raising your voice and writing and doing everything you can that you can do, constructive that you can do. Don't let it fizzle out and go into nowhere. Like in the Iraq War, 1 million protests and then nothing happened and they just went
that's what I feel.
There's a fear that this anger and so forth, which was not there in the Iraq War like as much as it should have been. This is a very different situation.
Social media wasn't there the way it is now.
Yeah, so
the
people
awareness wasn't there.
Yeah.
The news we got was on our TV and in our newspapers.
Websites that had 10 million subscribers, 1 million subscribers, 2 million subscribers have just been taken down by Meta or Facebook and Instagram and so forth. Like they'll make some feeble excuse and so forth, and they'll take it down. That's basically the.
I think Rumble is the other one now. Rumble is the new.
Yeah, but it's not so big and like that's like the YouTube. But just give it. That's more right wing and give it time. They of course they have they probably are very pro Israel. Apartheid state. So anyway, Allah make it easy for our brothers and sisters. Make dua for them and keep at it and not let and expose the crimes that are occurring, the support of the crimes that is coming in our country because we are here, and expose the crimes that are being committed from here. Yeah, like we don't take it out on religion or an ethnicity. Like if there's people in this country that are committing war crimes, then we should expose those war crimes. We should expose the politicians that support that. What lobby are you answerable to that you can't condemn the killing of women and children, right? And you have to always qualify it with something. Why can't you unreservedly and unequivocally, like you do for them, why can't you unequivocally, unreservedly condemn the killing of women and children, the way it's been done at the moment, the butchering that's happening? So explain to us, like, why and how, why, and who's actually pulling your strings from behind? Which lobby is pulling your string? So anyway, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy and protect us all. And we can only make dua.
Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and press the bell icon, and spend a lot of time in dua.
Ameen, inshallah. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.